Well, good morning, guys.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
It's good. I'm happy that we're kind of outside. I needed some sun.
Yeah,
You
it's a
know,
little bit protected in here.
but it's good
So you
enough
get the
that we get
warmth.
light.
Yeah, and I'm between two ferns.
Yeah, he thinks
You know?
he's at the beach with that shirt. You know.
Zach Galifianakis.
I'm Zach Galifianakis.
Oh my, it's horrible.
I don't want to.
I just felt like it was going to be 72 degrees today, and felt like it was a good day to wear a bright shirt instead of a wintertime bullshit.
I'm happy that we're getting out of. I said that I used to love the cold, and then I was in Oklahoma walking in snow, and I'm like, oh, can we go back to Mexico, dude? I'm like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
My son.
What are we doing? I will tell you. 20 years ago, I probably made one of the most arguable decisions of my life. I had the opportunity
You married that
to.
well?
Don't get him in trouble, dude. They're gonna.
19 years ago.
I'm just kidding.
I've been married longer than that. 19 years ago, I had the opportunity to be an instructor at the Naval Gunfire Spotter Course at Coronado Naval Amphib Base for 3 years, living on Coronado Island.
ISBAH in Southern California.
And I said, I want to go home. What a fool. But here I am, and we make the best of it.
I agree. Yeah, it is.
Complacency.
Yeah.
Boy, there's no easier place to get complacent than Oklahoma.
I think.
I mean, there might be
Yes.
easier places. If you think about complacency, maybe being on an island, you can get pretty complacent. There are cities where it's harder to get complacent.
Mexico
LA,
City is a
Mexico
city
City.
that it's harder to
It's
be
busy there,
complacent.
right?
Yeah.
New York City, Miami, Dallas. There are cities that are harder to become complacent in. And there are cities that are easier to become complacent in. There are definitely environments that either feed or, challenge complacency. Living out in the country is probably pretty simple to become complacent. There is a balance between, I don't think having peace is complacency. I think we should have peace in every part of our, like, every day. I think we should have a time for peace, And if we live out in the country and from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. you're at ease in your home, that's not complacency. As long as you get up the next day and push the ball forward, But I think for me, complacency would be defined as not realizing or not believing that there is a threat, or possibly minimizing the threat because it's unseen, And from a combat perspective, complacency is you've normalized and nothing's happened for a while, so you're not at risk. So there's no need to be at the ready. There's no reason to be ready. You're complacent if you're not ready. That's the reality of it. You're complacent if you're not ready. And so I think most people, I will say that I believe most people are not ready ever. People don't live in a state of readiness. But I don't think that people really have even thought about that shit. Like, what does readiness look like? Like, oh, you got your bug out bag? No, that's not the kind of readiness I'm talking about. I'm not talking about like being a super prepper and like having your freaking bug out trailer and your freaking up armored freaking truck ready to dip out of town. That's not the state of readiness I'm talking about. We're not in a combat situation. I'm talking about mental, physical, spiritual readiness, Staying ready. And the opposite of staying ready is complacency.
That's why, at least when I was on the vessel, there was a ton of accidents. Because they say, like, at least on the dynamic positioning vessels, it's like 99% boredom, 1% panic. So for all of the other time, you need to be ready if the wind comes, if the swell
Stay
comes.
ready, right?
But if you're like over there playing or grabbing your phone and you're not paying attention to
That's
what's
when
happening,
it happens, right?
that's when it's gonna
Of
happen.
course.
So it's the same situation. And it just happens in every aspect or life.
Yeah.
But since we don't see an immediate threat,
Yeah.
we're
Because
not
the enemy,
really paying attention.
the enemy is invisible, right? The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. How does he do that? You know, this is the war we're fighting. If we're being honest with ourselves, this is the battle of life. The enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. How does he come? How does he steal? How does he kill? And how does he destroy?
He uses complacency. That's his tool.
He uses comfort to breed complacency, right?
Yeah. So
And then he steals our future, right? He steals our future. He steals our joy. He steals our intimacy of relationships through injecting fear, you know? That's how he does it.
Okay.
So I think people confuse ignorance and peace. I think there are people that find themselves at what they would call, I'm at peace. But really, they're just ignorant to the threats around them, right? And like, I don't know how many gates I've walked out of, drove out of, buildings, operation centers I've walked out of that had the sign "Complacency kills," just to remind you that the second you don't expect something,
That's when it
it's gonna
happens.
happen, you know? And it's peace is not everything is, in my mind, peace is not everything is operating as it should. It is, I have checked to make sure that things are operating as they should.
And I'll take it to another level because that's on a surface level, that's in a physical level. But to go beyond that, right? That allows you to secure internal peace, right? So we can be walking through a firestorm and have internal peace, you know, and not hiding from the realities, but standing in them and have internal peace, similar to when you cold plunge, you know, like you can panic in that 35-degree water, or you can find peace, you know, and so yeah, just I agree. And then just to take it a little bit deeper, you know.
So I think the reason I've been around some serious war fighters over the years and been in real hairy situations with them where they are calm and collected, like almost like they found their peace, like they thrive on chaos, and in chaos is when they are most at peace because that's what's going on around them, and they know what to do. But the only reason they can do that is because they have trained for unknown, and they have had like the most creative minds in the world, or lance corporals and PFCs sitting around coming up with ideas on how to attack their brothers in training, you know. And so they come up with these harebrained ideas that I'm going to climb up in those rafters where no enemy is ever going to sit because they have no exit, and I'm going to shoot from up there. And they run training that, and then they change it, you know, and come up with another creative idea. And these crazy ideas that they come up with are the reason that Marines think through everything as they're training. Like, all right, what if this happens? What if this happens? You know, what if this happens? And so they're prepared for when it happens mentally. They may not have the answer, and it may not be the exact same situation, but they know that they are prepared for uncertainty when it comes. And so
They're ready
they're ready.
all the time.
But so often, and it's so simple to think through that, but nobody in an office environment thinks that way. No one's saying, all right, we know we have this big pitch that's coming Friday. We will not have it ready until at least Thursday. What are we going to do if the printers go down? You know, if this person calls in sick on Friday or loses a family member, who's going to give the pitch? You know, who's prepared? Who also knows the plan and is ready to execute
Everyone
the plan?
should be aligned, you know.
And so we rely so much on this is that person's job, this is that person's job, and it. I think honestly, and this is just my opinion, that titles in companies creates complacency. Because when you give someone a title, you are the HR representative. What if the HR representative isn't there? Who's next? Because if a problem comes up, it has to be dealt with, right? If a new hire comes in on a day that the HR person is sick, what are they supposed to do? But those titles say that's that person's job. I don't have to understand it. I don't have to know it, because I'll never have to do it. And it causes missteps, which creates uncertainty, and it puts us in an environment where we're fighting on our heels instead of on our toes. Instead of being prepared to drive forward, we are trying to keep from falling back. You know what I'm saying? And it's complacency that does that. And it happens in all environments. You can go to any organization, and complacency crush it. I've seen it in churches where, a disagreement with a pastor tears apart that church because they never anticipated that one day our ideas may not align. So now, instead of them saying, like, we wrote this into our bylaws, how do we deal with this? Because those are all things that we do. Oh wait, those haven't been touched in 30 years. And now our church is on its heels trying to figure out purging members.
Yeah. They've already let it go too far. I mean, that's like they've already seized up like the Tin Man on fucking Wizard of Oz. I mean, I personally cannot, unless I am on vacation or on a day of rest, one of those two, I cannot imagine living one day that is not progress oriented, where I am moving forward. I cannot come into my place of business and just be. It is an impossibility for me to exist without progress. It is an impossibility unless I am on vacation or at a day of rest. But shit, even when I'm resting, you think I'm not thinking of how I can improve? Fuck no, I am. When I'm sitting on the beach with my soda water and lime, I'm thinking about what I can do for my wife and child and how I can be better when I go home. So maybe I'm lying to myself. Maybe there's no time that I am not progress oriented. I cannot, this is challenging for me, and I don't try to understand. If someone is not that way, I don't try to understand why. I just encourage them out of it. Because I can't comprehend it. Because I've warred against it so much in my life. Like, I don't know that I've warred against it. I think I just hate the feeling of it.
Did you flip a switch? Did that happen at some point?
No. It's
Really?
been my whole damn life.
Really? No, for me, it wasn't. I think there was a lot that had to do. Even when I was thriving, there was always a place where it was good enough.
Oh, well, let me back up. No, there was a period in my depth of my addiction that I was stagnant mentally. I just wanted to go to work. I wanted to have a drink when I came home, and I wanted to exist. There was no progress for a season of my life, yes. But sober-minded, impossible. Impossible.
I had a coach, and he told me, like, it's probably pretty obvious, and you've heard it before, but it's like, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. Like, there's no maintaining.
Either growing or dying.
That's it.
Like a plant.
And it was I would say life-changing for me, because for the longest time I thought I didn't have to do certain things. I thought that if you're smart, you're not supposed to study because you're smart. If you're fast, you're not supposed to train If you're strong, you're not supposed to go to the gym because you're already all of those things. So you're like, oh, okay, I'm already sitting here. I'm already in a good position. And not understanding, like, while I'm sitting here and not doing anything, everyone else around me is trying to grow. And I'm just resting on my laurels, So that has something that for me had to be shifted and that I'm still working on so that I can keep moving forward because pretty easy they sell us that being complacent it's what we are looking for.
God, is it? Oh, it's so fucking
If you
disgusting.
think you get your
It
9 to
is
5,
what most people tend to be looking for. What the hell for, though?
but they convince us that that's the truth. They convince us that that's what we're thriving for. You work hard and then you retire at this age and this is what you're gonna live off.
And
That's it.
waste away and die. Ooh.
It's what we were talking yesterday. Like you never get to really take advantage of all of your gifts.
God.
And with the devil, and it's like he's not gonna come and just destroy your life. He'll be like, it's okay, you're good.
Yeah.
Stay where you are. You're
Yeah.
good.
You're not going to make waves. He'll make you comfortable so that you don't make impact. I'm a cannonball in that motherfucker.
So I went last weekend. I went and spent some time with family, celebrating my grandpa's 88th birthday. And even that day, talking to him, he was talking to me about how when weather warms up, the things he has to do. And I was thinking on the other day about like how many times I've ever heard my grandpa or my dad say, you know what, I need to get someone to do that. No, it's always like, that's something I got to do. Because they have always stayed active and taking action and moving forward. And there's always something that has to happen on the farm. This has to be built. This has to be taken down. This has to be moved. There's always something. And so at 88 years old, he still gets up in the morning, goes, takes care of
That's
you.
why he's 88 years old.
Absolutely.
And moving.
Absolutely. But I watch NBA a lot. I spend a lot of time watching basketball because I like it. But I think it is, among sports, one of the most evident because the season is so long and they play with such frequency, 80 plus games every season. To see, as you watch players go through the generations, you have the new players, and you can tell game to game, month to month, how hard they are working. And you see the senior players that are, they are there for experience, but they're not getting better. But then you see some of the senior players that are continuing to get better, regardless of how long they. You think about like a Tom Brady, how long his career was and how successful he was. But as that career continued to progress, he had to make massive changes to his lifestyle to keep his body capable of doing it.
Yeah.
Now, the trick is you got to do it not at the expense of your family.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But a lot of these guys that I've watched play season over season that have developed that every time the ball is not in action, they are still playing. They walk up to a free throw line and they are rehearsing their shot. They've made that shot hundreds of thousands of times and taken that shot, but they know I am not currently actively playing, so I am rehearsing. I am planning, I am playing in my mind. Where you see someone makes a move on the court, and now they're over there like, all right, how did they do that? And they're walking through it in their mind because they know that that's how they continue to get better. And they are practicing during games whenever play is not happening.
Is complacency life critical in our society? Is it?
Society, the complacency is alive and well.
Well, do you think it is critical? Critical. I don't think it's critical in one generation.
What do you mean by critical? You mean needed?
No, like to become complacent, is that life critical?
Look, is that gonna kill you? Is that...
Yeah.
Yeah. Look at what just happened in LA with all those fires. Complacency allowed those fires to get as bad as they were.
Yeah, but I think that in our society that you can be and not die, you know? Truly.
No, there are. And I
mean, our society's pretty
and hired
protected.
based off of other people's complacency.
So
And
what
I
is the
appreciate those
loss?
people.
So let's talk about, I mean, because public is going to watch this podcast. What's the, what do you lose in this American society, in American culture? When you become complacent, what do you lose? What is the cost of complacency?
You lose values.
Yeah.
That, like, ethics and values are something that.
So that has to matter to someone. If it doesn't, then it doesn't matter. What else do you lose?
It eventually matters to everybody, right? Because when you become complacent and values and ethics begin to drop in society and portions of society, eventually it gets to a point where people wake up and they're like, what the hell
How did we
happened?
get here? Right. So it doesn't happen in one generation, but it can happen over time. What is something else that is lost through complacency? Opportunity. Dreams, hopes.
Vision.
So what happens when we lose hope and we lose vision? We become self-destructive most of the time. Through being sedentary or through coping mechanisms, drugs, alcohol, whatever, porn, sex, sports,
We find because
hunting.
Hope
I mean,
is- hope
whatever
is,
your thing is,
hope is an aspect of human
baseball.
existence, and if there is
Yeah.
not hope in someone, something fills that void.
Yes.
It is a missing piece that now has to be filled, and it will be filled by something.
Yeah. So you lose hope. Through complacency, you lose hope. And then you have to find other things to make you feel okay.
Because
Correct?
you're missing that
So
part. Like
would
you're
you
looking
consider
for
that
hope.
complacency would separate you from God?
Yeah.
Because God is a God of hope, joy, peace, love, right? So if you're complacent, do you have those things? No, you're looking for them. You're striving for them. You're trying to find them in all the wrong places, right? I don't think that you can have a true relationship with our Creator and be complacent. I don't think that they marry each other. I don't think that they do.
But so you get put in the same position, right? So lack of complacency means that you are seeking God, seeking peace, and taking steps towards those things. Complacency puts you in a position where you're also looking for God, seeking these things. The difference is that continued relationship and battle with complacency allows you to know where to find it. You know? Because I know I've been at points in my life, my faith walk, where regardless of what actions I took, you can go to church and be just as complacent as someone who's never stepped foot in a church, right? You can go there and go through motions and do those things, but where the complacency shows up is when the actions you take are not genuine, where they are not intentional, where you are not, you pray to God, you don't seek God, right? You ask Him for things, but you don't want to know what He has to say.
Right. And
so when you find yourself complacent in your walk with Christ and get to that point where you are no longer, you're just wanting to receive the benefits of it. You're not wanting to take the action to make it a true relationship. Then you find yourself in a position where when you need hope and you need peace, you're searching for those things in the wrong places rather than the right place. Because either way, complacency means you are seeking something, right? To fix yourself. Lack of complacency is still seeking. It's just the means and the why behind it, and knowing where to look is what is the big difference to me. But I don't know.
So, I guess in summary, in American culture, complacency might not kill you, but it will sure as hell make you miserable. Right?
I agree. Not just that you said that it's not gonna be in one generation. I think it's moving so fast. I think it's affecting us so fast.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's probably 30, 40 years of complacency that we're resting on right
I
now.
have no idea.
And
But
we've got to freaking
I did
come
but
against it. I mean,
once it started moving, like from when I was here during high school to now, I used to love the US and be like, this is the most amazing place in the world. And then I come back and I'm like, what just happened? Like I was not, like this is a whole different place.
yeah.
So
If you left right now and came back in 4 years, you'd have the exact same feeling.
Unless we do something. about
that's where we must step in and
it. We don't have to. We can just let somebody else do it.
Yeah, it's not my fault. It's just where my kids are going to grow
Just
up.
let somebody else do it.
no, it's,
Why don't we just let somebody else do it, guys?
Yeah, because I don't trust anybody else with my future and my kids' future.
Because nobody else is doing it.
Yeah.
Very few. Very few are actually doing it.
very few.
Absolutely.
So I think it was it complements what we talked yesterday on
Yeah.
the class.
Yeah.
We all know it, and when you were saying about God, sometimes I pray, I'm like, oh, today I didn't use all of my gifts, and I apologize for that.
Yeah. You left something on the table,
I
huh?
left something on the table.
Well,
and
stop leaving something on the table, man. Clean
I
your
know.
plate. Clean your plate, George.
So that was, I do wake up and I'm like, or the other way around.
Sheesh.
I'm thankful that I was
Oh.
able to use them.
Gosh.
So
If I have it, I use it.
Yeah.
I use the whole tank every day, and then I get a fill up at the night and in the morning. And then on the weekend, I mean, throughout the week, like I don't really, I mean, I start with a full tank and then I'll use the whole damn thing. And then I might only get like 3/4 of a tank for Tuesday. And then I might get half a tank for Wednesday.
yeah.
And then a quarter tank for Thursday. But I use all of that shit. I do. I use it all. But I like driving fast, keeping the pedal down. So I'm happy to use all my fuel.
Well, I think in ourselves, it's different than like I love the car analogy and how we use fuel tanks. But if you drive your car hard, eventually it's gonna like.
Well, you have to have maintenance days.
Yeah, you.
Well, what do you think?
Even then, it starts.
What do you
to
think God gave us a day of rest?
wears down? But your body, if you push yourself, that
You're tuning it.
your ability to go further.
100%, bro. You're tuning it. You're tuning it, making it better, faster, tighter, more capable.
The harder you drive a car, the less gas mileage you get.
Yeah.
The harder you drive your body, the more gas mileage you get.
Yeah. Well, it's like, you mean, you that's 100%. But for me, even in a car, like if I'm driving a car and I floor it and I find its breaking point, what do? I take it into the garage and I figure out the weak link and I fix it. If I have more power and I'm breaking traction, I get wider tires. If wider tires doesn't solve it, I get softer, wider tires. If, whatever it is, like I'm always tuning.
Yeah.
Tuning out the failure points. That's just like our bodies and our minds.
It's funny when you can find like a new gear on you and you're like, oh, I didn't know I could go.
Yeah.
Whoa!
Like,
what
shit,
is
who put
this?
this turbocharger?
Like that though.
That-
Like,
but-
you're like,
yeah, I know.
"Whoa, I didn't know there was an 8th gear."
Yeah,
Like,
but it's so funny. You're like, I didn't know I could do this. And
It's
then-
amazing what happens when you keep going past that threshold. You find a new threshold.
And you don't have to use that gear all the time, but you know it's there.
You know it's there.
You
Well,
know
maybe
it's
then
there.
it becomes like normally you were operating in first gear 10 years ago. Now you're operating in sixth all the time. Well,
Okay.
fuck, let's go.
But if we're complacent, we're never finding that point.
No, you're never getting to the next
I
gear.
thought I always needed a nap. For all of my life, I've had a nap. And I was like, yeah, I'm extremely productive, but I need a nap. And now
That's
that I
nice.
yes, but now that I was like not
Sounds so
having to,
lovely.
it's
Gosh.
beautiful. But then now that I couldn't, I was like, oh, I can still go and do 16-hour days, and that's okay. Okay, I didn't know that was a thing. I'm probably not gonna do 16-hour days all the time, but I know that it's in there. I know it's like, okay, this needs to happen. I know I can't keep going. So that has been good, has been challenging. Yeah, he's getting complacent. Well, thank you guys.
Nice.